we need to move the compost pile today because we are trying to get this goat fence up, and right now the compost pile is right in the middle of the goat run. So yeah, looks like it's gonna rain here not too long, so we gotta get a move on this compost pile because moving a compost pile in the rain is not gonna be fun. Okay, so this corner here is going to be the location of the new compost pile, which is actually going to be a lot better because right here is our garden. So it is going to be a lot easier to take out plants and dump them over here. And also, right back here is our back door, and you can see our compost tumblers right there. Now these things worked great when we were just getting started and just trying to figuring out composting, but really right now we have completely outgrown them, and so it's going to be worthwhile to get rid of those. Maybe we'll sell them and then just walk any of the food scraps down here to the compost pile. So right now I'm just going to pile everything in a big pile, and apparently Jeremy's going to come by and put in some pallets and kind of wall it off a little bit. Always got to check the inside of gloves, especially ones that have been sitting outside, because you never know if a spider's going to crawl in there. And we do have black widows and brown recluse down here. Just a note if you guys live in the south. Well, if you live in the south, you probably already know that. These are my kids' gloves. I just thought of something. Those really big fence posts, which I think were originally for the garden, we could probably recycle those for the goat fencing. I'm gonna have to tell Jeremy about that. This gorilla cart is like super nice because it's like a little dump trailer, but the problem is, I don't know if you can see this. Man, this is not very well built, the hitch. It's all bent to pieces, and that has to do with the fact that one, the hitch on the tractor is really low, so it kind of bends it, and two, this is not meant to go in reverse, and I do believe at one point we put it in reverse and it kind of bent it. But anyway, still a pretty nice, good cart. Hey, I don't know if you know, but there are like two really large posts over there that maybe we could use as fence posts for the...
Possibly. I don't know how long they are, but...
They're really long. They're taller than me, so I want to say about 6.5, 7 feet.
Probably could use them because they're pressure treated. They've been out there years.
Yeah, I didn't know if you knew they were over there. So.
Yeah, I did.
Cool. And by the way, the reason that I'm moving the compost pile today instead of helping Jeremy is because he won't let me help him.
I just have a plan in my head, and that's like what I'm doing.
In other words, he won't let me help him. Ooh, look. Worms. That's a good sign in your compost pile. So a really cool thing that I learned recently was by a dude named Jeff Lawton. Now he is a permaculture guy out in Australia, and the video that I watched was where he was feeding his chickens for free based on just compost. So what he would do is he would scrape out the straw or the hay that he had in the chicken coop that was covered in manure, and he'd put that down as a bottom layer. Then he'd put down manure from around the farm, and then he'd add like food scraps to it, and then the chickens would come in and they would crawl down into this pile and eat what they wanted and scratch out the rest. And then he would move the coop and then start a new pile, and they would continue to scratch on the old piles. And he think he had like 4 piles started in a run, and he was able to sustainably feed his chickens on just compost alone. Now, he did note in the video that there was a slight deterioration in the chickens' health from doing this. He did a comparison, a side-by-side comparison of the chickens eating just compost compared to chickens that were eating just feed, and there was a slight deterioration in the health of the chickens eating just compost, but their egg production was just as good, if not better, than the chickens eating the feed. I'm going to link to that video. It's actually a really informational video. Personally, I think if I were going to get into it based on that experience, I would probably do some sort of combination of both. Probably not just manure or just compost, but I would supplement with feed as well so that their health was maintained. But it's a cool thing to know, and it's cool to see somebody else experimenting like that and kind of paving the way with ideas. And then you can go ahead and take what you want from that and apply it to here. So anyway, that's something that we might be doing in the future. We might test that out to some extent. And yeah, I'm gonna get back to this compost pile. So just a quick note on composting while I'm sitting here taking a break and looks like it's about to rain. Just kind of want to go over, for those of you that are new to composting, just some different things that I found out. One is that there's basically 2 main types of composting. There's cold composting and hot composting. There's also vermicomposting, and that's a different thing for a different day. We're not doing that, but for the most part we're talking about hot and cold. Now, the pile that I had over there was a cold compost pile, and the one that I'm going to start here is going to be a hot compost pile. And there's benefits and disadvantages to both of these. With a cold compost pile, you don't have to worry about turning it. You just add your compost, your ingredients to it, your nitrogen, your carbon, you let it rain on it, and over the course of, say, a year or so, it breaks down, and then you can use what's in there. Basically, you let it sit for a year, and then you start a new pile, and you just let that continue to break down until it's nice soil, and then you can use it. With a hot compost pile, you have to turn it constantly, but the difference is that you can use that compost a lot sooner because it's turned constantly. It breaks down a lot faster, and depending on the size of the pile and how many times you turn it, you can use it probably within 4 months. A compost tumbler is considered a hot compost. So because you're rotating it, it's a hot compost, so that would fall into the hot compost category. Now, there are different rules for each one. For a cold compost pile, you cannot add things such as meat or dairy or chicken litter, like animal feces. I kind of broke the rule on that, but I'm turning it into a hot compost pile, so I'm not too worried about it. And you can't add things such as weeds, because the seeds will grow. They'll live in that, and they'll grow, and they'll spread all over your yard. And so you have to be very careful what you add to a cold compost pile. Now, with a hot compost pile, you can use things such as dairy and meat, and you can put your weeds in there because it's maintaining a hot temperature. It's going to burn off those harmful pathogens, it's going to burn off those weed seeds, and so you don't have to worry about that being an issue. Now, some things you don't want to use in either pile would be things such as chemicals, especially if you are maintaining an organic garden. You want to make sure that you keep any kind of chemicals or chemical products out of your compost pile. If you are adding things such as meat or dairy, you need to understand that there is a very high potential that that's going to attract predators. Things such as raccoons and possums and skunks and buzzards and who knows what else, vultures, things that are going to eat the stuff that you're putting in your compost pile. So if those are a concern to you, especially if you have livestock nearby, you just want to be very careful what you're adding to your compost pile. Another thing to keep in mind is never add compost to your garden that isn't completely and totally broken down. When you go to add it, it should look and smell and feel just like dirt. If you can see pieces of food in it, you don't want to add that to your garden. And this is something that I learned recently at an organic gardening class. The reason for that is because soil has the option of either helping to grow your plants, putting its energy towards growing plants, or towards decomposing inorganic matter, decomposing organic matter in the soil. So if you put compost that isn't fully broken down in your garden, what your soil is going to choose to do is it's going to choose to decompose before it chooses to give off those nutrients to your plants, and your plants are going to suffer because of it. So just a quick tip that I had learned, I just wanted to pass along to you guys. And if you guys, I'm by no means an expert in composting, so if you guys decide to get into composting, just make sure you do your research. I'm just kind of giving a brief overview here so you kind of have some sort of base knowledge before you start doing your own research, so you kind of know what they're talking about in the different articles or videos that you watch. Can you help me dump these?
Sure.
So one of the reasons why we're getting rid of these is because we have so much compost that I can't actually even rotate this. So it was great when we were first getting started, but now it's just super heavy.
This one's only half full.
Yeah, it's super heavy though.
Jeez. Take out your frustrations. It smells like sewer.
It's because it hasn't been rotated.
It's like methane. God. Ugh.
That's what happens
No way to match.
when you don't rotate your bins.
Dude, that's gnarly.
So yeah, we're gonna get these all cleaned up, and then we'll list them on Craigslist, and hopefully they'll sell and go to a new home where they'll be where they will be of some use to them. I would say that probably if I had to do this all over again, knowing what I know now, I would not start with the compost tumblers. And as you can see, the reason why is because we use so much, and we have so much that we compost that even filling up the barrels halfway, it's too heavy for me to rotate it. So when they don't rotate, they sit there and they rot, and it smells, which is why it smells like methane, and it's pretty terrible. So honestly, if I had to do it over again, I would not start with the compost tumblers. I would start with what we're doing over here next to the fence, which is an open compost bin. And like I said, Jeremy's going to add some pallets around it to kind of fence it in and keep it contained as soon as he gets time, because right now he's a little busy building a goat shed. Alright, now I'm going to go grab that mesh fence and put it up, and it'll be a nice temporary barrier until we get the pallets up. noticed, but it is pouring down rain and we're getting a thunder shower. I'm actually surprised it held off as long as it did. So I gotta get this fence, these T-posts in. Apparently I'm supposed to use this thing. This is a little big for me. I'm not very good with tools. We'll see if I can use it. Alright guys, that's gonna have to be good enough for today. I'm out of here. See ya.
Okay, Jamie took my microphone because she's out doing shooting another video. But I got me a new one. So let's see the difference. Alright, so you got your little bracket, dead cat, microphone, plug, audio jack for headphone monitoring, everything you need. Alright, let's see what it sounds like. Plug the mic in. How's that? Better? Quite a bit of a difference, eh?